Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It is always good to be with you. And I hope that when I say that, I'm saying it with sincerity. It doesn't sound like it, does it? It sounds like I'm half joking. But it really is good to be with you and really good to be with my good friend, Phoebe Francis in Dubai. Phoebe, how are you this morning?
Uh, Good morning, everyone, wherever you are. I'm very well and fine. And yes, there are some clouds around the region due to the situations which we all read in the newspapers and television and other places. But otherwise, it is a bright day and bright morning. And I hope things will be bright for all of you.
I think there's a bit of a metaphor tucked in there, isn't there, Phoebe? Or yeah, a little bit of a metaphor in terms of the cloud, because it's not necessarily that there are clouds in Dubai, except when there is a political crisis over the Strait of Hormuz on the other side. So yes, we all accept that. Very well set up, Phoebe. I will just say really briefly that I'm a certified master of the Leadership Challenge. And I was briefly talking to my friend who's with us today, Phoebe Francis, about what we have achieved recently, and that is 100 episodes. In fact, as I said to Phoebe before we started, we have been presenting about the Leadership Challenge one way or another, either by the video recording on YouTube or the podcast every week for 2.5 years. Oh my gosh, every week there's something on there about the Leadership Challenge. So Phoebe is a trained facilitator. I'm a certified master, and we love what we're doing. And I'm going to reveal a little secret. Close your eyes, close your ears, Phoebe. Because in setting up what we're going to be talking about, I don't give Phoebe a list of things and say, this is what we're going to be talking about today. No. We could say I'm being lazy because I do the opposite to that. I say, Phoebe, what are we going to talk about today? Phoebe probably to himself is saying, Graham, why don't you come up with something? Well, I have over the time. But usually it's me saying, Phoebe, come on, what are we going to talk about? And he has, as he does, has come up with something which I believe is very valuable and important to talk about. So, Phoebe, please tell us all, what do you suggest we talk about today? And bring value, that's always important, value to our audience around the world.
Yeah, I was just watching the television, and this news came across that a political leader was elected, and he came for an event, and there is a um, student political leader within his political leadership or party who wanted to highlight some things, and usually the leader in this context smiles and convey the regards by even acknowledging the presence of the other person. But in this case the media was hyping around, okay, there was no eye contact, there was no smile between these two members. And I was thinking, how when yes, we know leadership is not just about position, it is about the behaviors which we display at various points of time. And uh, what are the expectation being a leader, especially with the followers,
Mm,
and and how it impacts and lands on the perception, on the overall interaction. So expectation being a leader came to me as a topic today, and I thought, uh, how as a leader that expectation can be managed, and
mm.
how the followers feel being connected, how the followers feel being valued, how the followers being seen in the process altogether. So that came as a topic for me.
Okay, but hang on. You just said a little while ago, as you were setting this up, that this event that you saw with the leader and the people, the other person, and there was focus on the fact that the leader didn't smile. What? What's wrong with what do you mean the leader has to smile? No. Tell the people what they've got to do. Get on with it. This is a serious business being a leader. Why should I go around smiling? If I smile, people will think I'm making fun of things. Oh boy. Oh, sorry. I'm talking about managers. Oh, of course. Yes. So what does a smile do? I mean, just to take a little thing about the very act of smiling. Let's, as I always say when I'm in running a workshop, well, if I'm talking about this subject, I'll say, what happens when you smile? Well, what happens is these two little muscles here, the end of your lips, pull your lips out, and there you create a smile. Oh my gosh. And that very muscular act, oh God, muscular act, that sounds a bit rich when I'm talking about. Anyway, the muscles are doing it. That sends a message to the pleasure center of the brain where the endorphins and dopamine are released. And they're saying, okay, let out the endorphins, make this person feel happy. Oh, okay. So endorphins are released and you feel better. You feel happier. It changes your mood state when you smile. Now, the very act of smiling to another person, someone once said, when you smile, the world smiles with you. Well, give me a break. When I smile, the people in Sudan are not all going to smile just because I, all these thousands of kilometers away, have smiled. No. But what they mean when they say that is that the smile has a carry-on effect. Usually, when we smile, the person who's receiving that smile instinctively does the same thing back. They smile at me. Why? Well, intuitive. This is where the unconscious comes in, because the unconscious knows, shall we say, smart unconscious, that when you smile, you feel good. So internally, without using these words that occur to you in your brain, but the brain reacts as if, oh, he's feeling good. I want to feel good too. So I'll release the endorphins, and we both smile. This is really good. It changes the mood state of the individual, doesn't it? So if you're working hard, you've got your head down and you're busy doing things, and someone walks past of position in the organization, not the leader, but someone of position, and they don't look at you, they don't change, they don't anything, and they walk past you, or they might look at you blankly and keep walking. Your mood state's not going to change, is it? You might even think, well, he's always grumpy. Why would I smile at him? He's always like that. I don't like it, but I've got to deal with it. But when the leader comes into the room and smiles at the people and says, hi there, how you doing today? It changes the mood state. So that's the expectation that the people think. We always love it when this leader comes in because for a start, he smiles and he changes our mood state. We might be under a lot of pressure to get the work done, but he smiles and he says, how are you doing? And you know what? That then becomes an expectation of the people. He's coming. Where is he? Come on, hurry up. I need to change my mood state. I want to feel better about all the work I've got. And he comes in and says, how you doing? I know you're on top of it. What's going on? And he has that rapport and relationship. By the way, I've said this before, leadership is a relationship. Thank you, Jim Kouzes and Barry Posner. So the relationship that he builds is one where people who he is leading look forward to him coming in to their environment. If he's not already in that environment, he creates an expectation that they will want to work for him or with him. They will want to be there every day because of what he or she creates and the expectation that the people have when they're coming to work in the morning through the traffic or whatever it means that they've got to get there, and the train is late and there's a lot of people, all that, but they know when they get to the office or the work environment, wherever that environment is, that the leader is going to absolutely make their day a whole lot better than it may have been. But they might have had the expectation, despite all that's happening on the traffic and it's late and there's people are crashing in and I'm being bumped when I'm in the train. But they know it's going to be a really good day when they get there because of the expectation they have with their leader. How does that sound, Fiby?
I was just reflecting in this process when you said that, I remember some of the leaders with whom I have worked, and they come and in each interaction with a smile. And I'm just reflecting here, like as you mentioned, when that happens, it eases you. It eases you. It actually makes the environment, more in a relaxed setting. And in that process, what happens is a psychological safety emerging. And you know that that smile is something. Okay, you are welcome here. In that that is the tone which is being said,
Yeah.
and you know it also shows the value which the person holds, and we know leadership is not about the roles which you handle as a position from title and hierarchy aspect, but you know what as you just mentioned, the relationship part of how what is the relationship which I have with the people in the room, and how I am opening, how I am closing, how I am interacting in that moment, uh, have an impact on what happens next. And I like to connect it with modeling the way. Are you modeling the way by being present, and the smile creates a effect which can be contagious. You know, smile brings more smile.
Yeah.
Grumpiness bring more grumpiness. Which environment do you want in that context is important.
Yeah, and look, there is nothing that says that the smile is going to negatively, using that perhaps in a strange way, impact on the performance. In other words, what I'm really saying is we are not going to feel less inclined to work at our best capability just because a leader has smiled and created that mood state and an environment for it. In fact, quite the opposite. I want to be here. I want to work hard because of the environment that he or she creates is positive. And they come in and they smile. And I remember I may have recounted this story in all the 2.5 years that we've been talking, but I remember the chief financial officer of a company said, our people are just not aligned to what we are doing. I keep talking about the future and where we're going, and no one seems to be involved and keen. And oh, okay. And I asked what might have seemed like a strange question. I don't know. But I said, so in the morning when you arrive at the office, what happens when you walk in? Oh, well, I just got my briefcase for my papers and what have I been working on overnight? And I walk into my office and I sit down and start working. I said, I want you to change that. Oh, really? What do you want me to do? I said, when you walk into the office, I want you to say good morning to each person individually, not just call it out. Hi, guys, I'm here. But individually walk past them. Hi, good morning. How are you? And then and how's your day been? How's it starting out? What's going on? And then walk to the next person and to the next person. This might add 5 minutes or maybe 7 or 8 or maybe even 10 minutes to his start of the day. But that investment in time will pay off hugely, don't you think? Because he is caring about the people and he's saying, good morning, how are you? And I'm going to suggest that the astute leader, when I say astute, I mean astute at reading body language. Now, he's working with these people every day. Their behaviors, he's going to get to know really easily because he's with them every day and he's perceptive, or she. And he may well pick up that one of the team is not doing so well today. Now, he's not immediately going to pounce on that person and say, come on, brighten up. It's a beautiful day. Keep going. Smile. He's not going to necessarily do that. He's going to have a little more sincerity and sensitivity. And he might just observe a little bit later in the morning how that person's going. He might pick up some, what we might call vibes. He might pick up on something about that person's body language. And he might go out and say, can you come into my office? I want to have a chat to you. And when they come in, you say, okay, have a seat. And he then might say, I just want to ask, how are you doing? Is everything okay? And that person will know that he has recognized that their emotions are contrary to what they likely should be. This, by the way, is about emotional intelligence. And he is reading the body language of the person and thinking, they're not doing so well. Now, he might just say, well, if you want to talk about it, I'm happy to listen. They might say, well, look, I'm okay. I'm just dealing with something, but I really appreciate you asking. By the way, the very fact that they asked, that changes that person's mood state, that someone asked, because it says someone cares about me. And I haven't got to disclose everything to them. I haven't got to burst into tears. The person's not going to push, give me more information. Come on, let's sort this out. No, he just says, I just want to make sure everything's okay. And that person say, oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. Let me think about it. Uh, if I need to talk about it, I'll come and see you. And we're going to have a coffee. Okay, great. Right. So that's not pushing that person to say, tell me everything that's going on in your life because I can see you're not happy. No, that will lead to a shutdown, most likely. I'm not going to tell him because he's being so pushy. But if that person shows an interest, by the way, this act or behavior that I'm talking about doesn't have to just come from the leader. Colleagues can do this as well. One colleague perhaps can go and say, you're not doing too well today, are you? Well, I've got a few things on my mind. Well, if you want to talk about it, we can go and have a cup of coffee. How does that sound? Yeah, okay, thank you. That exchange of words from a colleague will help that person most likely, right? Will help that person who's not doing too well. And that shows that we care. And it shows when the leader walks into the office in the morning, or by the way, if he's already in the office, which is not a bad thing, when everybody else comes in, he's then going to go out. He might finish what he's doing. It might be another few minutes after they've arrived, and then he'll do the walk around and go walk around to each workstation, each desk, each office. Hi there, how you doing? Just thought I'd check in. And he's going to smile. This sets the climate for the day, doesn't it? Rather than him saying, I'm so busy, I can't go and say hello to anybody. You know that I care about you. No, get off your backside. Walk around and talk to them.
I see a link here. The leadership isn't about carrying people, but it is about lifting them. And it links to the practice enabling others to act. As you mentioned, can we have a cup of coffee and have these conversations? And this is also, in one way, enabling others to act, share what is the challenge, so that we can have an open conversations on the specific issue the person is facing, and being out as a leader. And this also connect with encouraging the heart, when creating an environment where someone can share what is being bothering them, and that process brings the shift.
Yeah, and you said about when we're starting this about the expectations of the leader and the team. The team members are going to expect that every day they are going to be treated carefully, calmly, rationally, reasonably, all these good things, caring. The manager is over the, whoops, did I say that word? The leader is going to show that he or she cares. And I'm going to get this a little bit wrong, but there was a quote from Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the ruler of Dubai, the vice president, and we know all of that. The ruler of Dubai, Sheikh Mohammed said, you just have to care to be a leader. Now, I haven't got that perfectly correct. I should check on it, but that encompasses the idea of what he was saying. Leadership is about caring. And the people who are working in that environment will know that the leader cares about them and wants to show them the support that he can give them. And you talked about, or you alluded to some of the five practices, and certainly the first one. This is about modeling the way, isn't it? If he talks about his values, and they all know that what we're going to share what our values are, and if one of his values is caring for people, wow, that's what he's going to do, isn't it? If he says, "Oh yes, I care for people. I'm always aware of what's going on for them," but if he doesn't do that, he's not living the values. He said he cares. Huh? He just cares when we get the results. Huh? He just cares when we finish the work on time. Huh? He cares. He cares about the wrong things. Well, not the wrong things, but he doesn't care about the important things. If a leader cares about the people he's leading, they will never want to leave him, and they will always want to perform at their best. And there will never be a dysfunctional working environment. And I hear about that so often these days now, where there is a disconnect in the workplace, where people don't want to be there. And I'm hearing about large organizations reporting this as an issue. Well, by the way, give me a call and I'll sort it for you. It's not hard to make a big change in all of this so that the leader and the expectations that are delivered are understood. They're understood quite often because of the values that they've talked about and understanding and living modeled away. We know that when we live our values and you understand the values of all the other team members, you get great results. This is the start of the 5 practices. The most important one is around values, living your values, doing what you say you'll do, building trust, all those good things that are easy to do. And many leaders, sorry, I said that, many managers don't do this. The example you gave earlier about the situation in India, where the so-called leader was expected to do certain things, right? And he didn't do it, right? How's it going to come when the leader asks someone to do something and he's behaved like that? Are they going to say, "Oh, yes, of course I will do that to you right away, sir"? They're going to say, "Oh, really? Sorry, I've got other things to do." Well, they're not going to say that, but they're going to do it with resistance. Whereas if the leader has set expectations and if he comes in and shows that he cares, everybody wants to be there. Simple. Everybody wants to work at their best. And also, he's going to encourage the heart. Why do I keep talking about these 5 practices? Who wrote these? Of course, the 5 practices are fundamental to exemplary leadership, and they're not hard to live by, to demonstrate.
Yeah, and people are not machines. They are more more like batteries. Recognition is what recognition is what recharges them. So, as a leader, the expectation is how can we continuously recharge? Like
I'm going to hold you right there because I love that. You said recognition recharges them, doesn't it?
exactly.
How hard is it to do that rather than yell or scream or be disciplinarian or whatever? If you come in and recognize that they might be under some pressure, so you know what, you just do a great job. I know that you are committed to what you're doing. It's just fantastic that you're on this team. Thank you so much. What happens? Suddenly they change gear into top gear if they weren't already there, and wow, they go even faster and even more prepared to get great results because of what the leader says, not the manager.
And like it is simple also, celebrate small wins, acknowledge the effort, not just outcomes. And, in a way, leaders are energy managers. How are we managing the energy in the room?
Yeah, and look, sometimes I refer back to a leader who made the biggest impression in my early career, and I was at 29. I had a senior position in this organisation, and this man, as I've mentioned as we go back over the time, was a household name in Australia. By the way, that was so long ago. If you mention that name now, people, no, don't remember that one. But he was a household name. And I had the great honour at that early stage to work for him. I think I joined the company when I was 23. And I guess I rose fairly rapidly through the ranks and was a senior position when I was 29 with a lot of people that I was leading, around 70 to 80 people in the team overall. And he was just someone who really did inspire me as he inspired others. And I never, in the time that I was working with him, never saw him angry. I never saw him losing control of his emotions. There was always an expectation that he was caring about you and he wanted you to be able to perform at your best. And that in so many ways inspired me to get the best results from people who I was leading. And I know because there was some time after that I met up with others and who used to work with me and I was their leader, who talked positively about the sort of things that I was doing. And I really credit him with modeling the way of the way he led and his values, which were fairly clear. We never had a conversation about values, but they were really very clear in my view. And we got some great results because of that. And I know I worked hard. I know that I loved what I was doing. And I hope to engender that love of what we were doing in the team that I was leading. And as I said, it was sometimes overall, I had 5 direct reports and upwards of 80 people. And they all loved what they were doing. And it wasn't hard to get those results. It's not hard. And as I'm saying again, he modeled the way. He talked about the future. He certainly enabled me. No, there were times when I would hesitate to do something, and he was like the wind under my wings by what he said. And it was about saying, Graham, you can do this. Believe you can do it and go and do it. Now, yeah, okay. Sure. Thank you very much. I know what it's like when someone says that. I know what it's like when someone builds that relationship, someone at a senior level, and someone who was, as I said, everybody in the country in those days knew who he was. And I was honoured to spend that time with him, and I know that what I learned stayed with me.
I think in one way, when you convey that story, it helps us to see that as a leader, he understood the expectation you have, and in a process built on that expectation, creating a safe space for you to do challenge things and also enable others in your team to act in a way. So one question which I think our viewers and listeners have may ask themselves is, what expectation are people silently placing on you as a leader? And are you aware of it?
Yeah, and I think the leaders should have a behaviour that shows that people can expect that I will care for about them. They can expect that I will lift them up if they're not doing too well. You can expect that I will expect that know that they can deliver things, but they didn't even think they could deliver, that they are able to perform more effectively than they think they can do. I will, that's my expectation. You can do better. I know you can. And as I've said, in this case, there were times when he lifted me up by his belief in me. And I'm thinking, how can I do this? Me, right? And he lifted me. The expectation that we had was, you know, and I guess I never really thought about it until you brought this up now, the expectation that I had with him. But it was always really positive and it was always rewarded. I'm thinking now about it, but I never had a difficult moment with him. I never had a moment where I was chastised or treated badly or treated without respect. And I never had him raise his voice, never. And he created such a wonderful environment. So that's why I loved working there. And that's why what I tried to engender to other people, to have them wanting to do what we wanted them to do and to perform really, really well. So, by the way, this is not hard. This is not hard. I keep saying leadership, not hard. No, not when you care. And when you care, people perform at their best. When you show them ways to perform even better, when you challenge them to do things they didn't think they could do, and when you acknowledge them by telling them how well they've done, when you lift them up, people want to be there doing it for you. They want to climb the highest mountain. They want to achieve the vision that you together with them have created for the future. So you can do it. Expectations. Build those wonderful positive expectations so that people think, I know that when I walk into the office today, I will be working in a safe environment. We talk about safety these days, not talking about the walls falling over, but we're talking about a safe environment psychologically. So that they know that I am working in a safe environment and where I can express my views and no one's going to yell at me. Least of all going to yell at me is my manager or my boss, my whatever I'm calling him, my leader. that expectation is it's going to be a comfortable, safe, happy working environment where everyone is valued and everyone is treated in the best possible way. And because of that, people perform at their best. Simple, not hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And leadership isn't about becoming someone new. It is
No,
about it is about becoming more deliberate in how you show up
yes.
every day in
Yeah.
small ways.
And it's also the other word, of course, is authentic, right? Deliberate, authentic. You
Yeah.
know that that person's not putting on a face just because of the position that they have. No, they are genuine. And when we know, they are also vulnerable. We've talked about this before. But when they are genuine, you think, yep, he or she, that's the person I want to work with. Because I know they have emotions, they have feelings, but they manage them really well, and they lift others around them up. They lift them up higher than that person thought that they could be. But they're authentic. Leaders are authentic. Well, unless you're Donald Trump. Um, Oops, why did I mention that name? But authenticity is another key element of being a wonderful leader because we can relate to that person. So there we go. Phoebe, I think we're exhausting ourselves, aren't we? No, we can keep talking about leadership and we can keep talking about being authentic and about caring and meeting expectations. Do you have a final word that you would like to leave with us?
Yeah, treat leadership like building a bridge. Uh, and you don't carry everyone across, but you design the structure so they can walk across confidently.
Safely, confidently, safely. Yes. And know that they will be recognized for the contribution and the work and the initiative and for their commitment to achieving the very best that they can. Phoebe, as always, thank you very much for your wisdom today. And we will be back as we are next week. Remember, I said we've been doing this for 2.5 years. We'll be back again next week and we're going to
Thank you,
keep it.
Graham. And I like all our audience to please share and also bring in your thoughts, comments. And in case you need a support, we can be supporting you virtually or in person in your organizations to lift the leadership capability.
And you can have positive expectations about what we will do for you as well. Thank you. See you next week, everybody.